purpose of this DVD, I think, is to give people a glimpse at how simple it is. It's not a complicated thing. If you learn the plants that are in this DVD, learn to go out and identify them and harvest them and eat them, because taste is a learned thing. Because they might not taste nice to you in the beginning, but if you eat them quite a few times through your life, you get used to them and you'll acquire a taste. So, and if you learn these 10 plants, it would be impossible to starve anywhere you are from here to Cooktown on this side of the Great Divide. And I think with this bit of information, because I'm not giving you a lifetime of information in one DVD. I'm just giving you a few plants that are very, very common and have multiple uses. And they grow, they're so common. And that way you can step into the bush, and once you've learned these things, and be familiar, you can look around and go, okay, there's that, I can eat that, I can eat that, and then just start adding knowledge to that. And it won't take long before you feel very, very confident in the bush as far as bush tucker goes. And the same thing goes with everything else, like shelter, practice. When you were, most kids anyway, I used to go out and build all kinds of cubbies in the forest when I was small, and it's the same thing. Now, only you're just a bit more sophisticated. You don't want the rain to come in, so you do it a little bit tighter and a little bit stronger. But yeah, that's how I hope that this DVD will help people take that first step. Get them off the couch and into the backyard even. A lot of these things will be growing in your backyard. And then from there, take another step and get out into the bush and get familiar. One thing most people can agree on, this world here with the cars and all the industry, the industrial age is not sustainable. We're raping the earth at a phenomenal rate. And all of us know that now we've got Japan and India online. It's going faster and faster and faster, like a snowball coming down a hill. It's going to end. When? Nobody knows for sure, because nobody knows the future. But, my gut feeling is it's going to be pretty soon. And if you have this knowledge, well, you can survive. Yeah, let's go up and photograph this native cordyline. It's a great bush tucker and very common from here to Cooktown. Anywhere you go, it'll be there. Let's have a look. Okay, this is native cordyline, and it's a really common plant in the bush this side of the Great Divide all the way to Cooktown. From, say, Sydney to Cooktown, you'll find this plant in the bush, and they oftentimes grow in clumps like this. And so I'm going to break it off right here, and I'll show you what we eat. So you just break off the top, like that. And all these leaves I'll use later for weaving. And also, if you were thatching a shelter, you just take clumps of that and use them like shingles on your lean-to or whatever. So it's really good for thatching. Let's pull all these leaves off. This young leaf here, you can eat raw or steam it, and that's a really good vegetable as well. But this is what we're after right here. See that? What's the undifferentiated leaf that's all in there? It's called the heart. It's delicious. Like fresh peas. Want to try some more? What do you reckon? There's a lot of nutrition in this. And you can't kill the plant. It'll send out 2 shoots on either side of that, and grow another head out. So when you harvest and eat this plant, you never actually kill it, which is a really good thing. You can also eat the horizontal roots that come off the plant. They come horizontal off the plant, and they're fairly shallow. And when they're swollen and maybe about that big around, you can harvest them and you boil them, or you can roast them as well in the coals. And they're really sweet and nice. But you don't do that unless you're in a survival situation, because it hurts the plant quite a bit. Might even kill it. So you'd only do that in a survival situation. It's knowing through experience. That's what knowledge is. Knowledge is not read a book and now I know something. You have to go apply that to your life, in your footsteps. Then it becomes knowledge. Until then it's just intellectual garbage. This is a Bangalow palm, and it's native to Australia, and it's very, very common in the rainforest and even in grasslands, woodlands. It's very common, and lots of times you'll find them growing in clumps like this, where you got three, one really small one bigger one, and then one bigger one. And all palms have a heart, which is undifferentiated leaf matter. Before the leaf is born from the tree, it's all stored inside here. So this one here, to get the heart, you'd cut the tree right here and down here, and then peel all of that back, and inside will be the undifferentiated leaf matter, and that's what you eat. And there'd be a nice big chunk in there. For one person, it could last you a few days. Okay, and this palm, when the tree, is done with the leaf, it dries out, and then this falls off the tree because it's done with it, and then I use that for weaving. I can split it like this, and then I've got a fiber to make rope or a basket, fish traps, whatever. And then also the flower stalk, which isn't on here right now, but when it bears a big stalk and it's full of red fruit, when all the berries fall off, then that flower stalk falls to the ground, and that's also a good weaver. So, like this basket here, that's the flower in my basket, and that's the leaf base that I just showed you. And then it has one more fiber, which is right there, and that's the sheath that wraps the flower when it's born from the tree. And when it's done with it, it drops it. So you have three fibers that the tree actually gives to you to weave with. Yeah, so that's a really good one to know. That's why so many people start talking to me and going, and rah, 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 and rah, 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 you know, and I'm like, well, have you had the experience, or is this something you read? Oh, it's something I read, but I know it's true. I'm like, man, you don't know unless you put it to the test. It's like this book, this bush tucker book is talking about water, and it goes, native grapes, there's heaps of species everywhere in the bush. There's one just up here which I'm going to try. And the first settlers called them water vines, because when they were walking through the bush and they needed water, they'd just cut a meter length, turn it upside down, and drain it into a container. Well, I've tried and tried and tried, and not one drop of water. But there's one species up here, because my friend Gummy, he's incredible. He's the one that made that salve. He reckons that there's one species out of maybe 10 or 15 species that gives you copious amount of water. Cut it and it'll, give you lots of water. So I'll try that. That's the thing, they haven't gone out and made it knowledge. They just read it somewhere else. Maybe in the archives of the first settlers. You know, which is where I got a lot of my intellectual information, and then went out and applied it. Okay, this is Matt Rush. See how wide the leaves are? And it's called mat rush because the Aboriginals used to use these to weave mats with. And it's on every single creek and stream, river, on the banks, because the main job for it is to hold it from erosion, hold the soil. And you'll find that plant from here to Cooktown, anywhere there's water, and also even in dry areas. It won't be this lush. It'll be real small, but it still grows even in dry lands. And it's a great bush tucker. It grows in a clump, and you just pull one of these clumps out, like that, and then peel these leaves back, which I'll keep for weaving later. And that's the bit that's edible. It's delicious. A lot of people reckon it's like fresh peas. And as you can see, there's quite a few. I could take maybe 6 of those off of this one plant, and then I could go to another plant, take another 6. So it's a really, really good source of bush tucker. Here's a dry flower on this one, but you can see the kind of spines on it and stuff. But when it's fresh, when it's born from the plant, it's got hundreds of little tiny yellow flowers on it. And the Aboriginals used to come along and dip it into their water containers, and then just keep going along to each plant, dipping in, and then they'd taste it, and when it got sweet enough, they'd drink it. So there's a lot of nutrition in the flower itself. And that's mat rush. So now you've got mat rush, the Bangalow palm, and native cordyline. If you know those 3 plants, I think it would be basically impossible to starve to death, because these foods are going to be within walking distance no matter where you are from here to Cooktown. Okay? Yeah, the body stores at least 2 weeks of vitamins and minerals for the average person. And so you can stop eating for that long and still be okay. But if you're stressed and you're in fear, you're like, oh my God, I'm out here without any shops. What the hell am I going to do? Well, all those vitamins and minerals, stress actually burns up them quicker. So those 2 weeks can go down to 5 days, and you're out because you're stressed. You've burned them all up. So it makes sense just to relax, because then those 2 weeks you can turn into a month, twice as long. If you're not afraid, if you're familiar with your environment, you're not afraid. Yeah, then your chances of survival are increased 100-fold. See the white flower with the yellow inside, and the green berries. It's in the deadly nightshade family. And the blackberry. When the berry is all the way black like that, you can eat it. Here, Mark. It's like a tomato. Lots of people used to think these were poisonous, but that's because they'd eat the berry before it's all the way black, because the plant doesn't want you to eat it until the seed is viable. Okay, that's that plant. You know, I'm making a little hat for my doll, for the little doll there, this morning. These are my little friends. I make lots of dolls. There's a huge market out there for people that collect dolls that are made out of natural materials. But mostly I make them because I spend 90% of my time in the bush by myself, and they take the edge off with my imagination. Those are my little friends. so I'll make him a little hat. Match that hat. A mama doll and a baby. But yeah, my grandmother taught me how to make the dolls. She used to make them out of corn husk. I was raised by my grandfather and my grandmother. And wow, what a contrast, because like my grandmother died when I was 12 and I had to go live with my mom and dad. And the contrast was probably why I'm sitting here today, because it was just so obvious. Growing up with my grandparents, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have indoor plumbing, we didn't have wash machines or anything like that. But yet my grandmother would sing and be happy when she was doing her laundry and hanging it out, and I would help her in the same spirit. It was joyous, you know, and that's how they raised me. It was like every part of their life, and they were self-sufficient. We grew our own wheat and ground it into bread and everything. Grew all our own food, and it was just simply a joy. My grandfather would get me up at 4 o'clock in the morning every morning. He usually didn't have to get me out of bed because I'd be so excited. I'd just be laying there waiting for him. And then we'd go off to milk the cows, and it was just, we'd play hide and seek, and he'd squirt me with the tit of the cow, and you know, it was just a lot of fun. And then when I went to live with my parents, my dad designed and built houses for rich people, and they had all the modern conveniences, and they weren't happy. Now this I'm pretty sure is Gotu kola. I have to check it because there's quite a few plants that look very similar to this that have the roundish leaf. But when you pull it off the stem, yeah, this is Gotu kola, because it flares out at the stem where it meets the plant. And if it doesn't do that, if it just keeps going straight, then it's not Gotu kola. So it's got to fan out where it meets the main stem of the plant. Now, in China, they've used it for thousands and thousands of years to improve the memory. They reckon if you eat 2 leaves a day. And they've also done studies on it, and they know that this plant fires up your immune system and also your blood cleansing. It's a blood cleansing plant as well. And it's all through the bush everywhere you go, down by the creeks, in the paddocks, like this is just in the open paddock here. But it grows in almost every situation. And it's a little bit bitter, but it's fine. Gee. Definitely a good one to know. And these are the leaves we just harvested from the native cordyline. And this is how we prepare them for weaving. Check out, see how the leaf is before I heat it? Now I'll show you what it looks like after I heat it. See how shinier it is? Maybe you can't pick it up on the
no, I can see it
on the camera, but it makes it heaps more flexible. And then I peel the leaves back like this. There's a midrib in the center. And these fibers I'll twist into rope in a minute, but I'll just do all these leaves first. So this is the native cordyline that we harvested for the bush tucker. And I've heated up the leaves over the fire, which you saw. And now I'm going to make it into rope. So I'm splitting the leaf like this. and that's the midrib there. And we'll start making the rope. Take a piece like this, hold it in your index finger and your thumb, and this one that's farthest away from me is the one I'm always going to be twisting. Not the one that's close to me, the one that's farthest away. And I hold the tension with my index finger and thumb and start twisting away from me. Twist it up, twist it up, twist it up. And then I take this middle finger underneath and just with the twist of my wrist, twist like that. Twist, 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 switch. Twist, 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 switch. Twist, 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 twist. It's basically, it's being twisted into itself, so that when I do let go, it doesn't untwist. So I just keep twisting, 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 twisting. Now when this shorter piece gets a little bit shorter, I'm going to add another piece on. So maybe when it's about that length, I'll take another piece and lay it over the top of it and just twist it right into it. All the cicada species, and I can't remember how many there are, but there are quite a few different species of cicada in Australia, and they're all edible. Yeah, you can eat them raw or roast them in the coals. Tastes like chicken. They're quite easy to catch, especially when they first do their metamorphosis. You'll find them when it's cicada season, they'll be all over the tree trunks, because when they come out of the ground, they live in the ground for years. All the different species have different cycles, but they all live in the ground. And when they come out of the ground, they head for the first vertical thing there is. Like out here, it's a tree trunk, so they'll crawl up that tree trunk and freeze, and then do their metamorphosis and turn into a winged insect. And at that point, that's the best time to harvest them, because they're just there. And when they come out of their shell, they'll sit on top of their shell and pump air into their wings. And yeah, they're just easy to catch. Munch them down. Okay, this is a common thistle that has a blue flower on it. Hopefully we'll get a picture of the plant with a blue flower on it, but I'm sure most of you have seen it. It grows all over the place, especially in open areas. And you can eat the leaf. Most people steam it, and that dissolves these little thorns. But you can also eat it raw if you don't have a fire. I reckon it's full of nutrition. Yeah, so that's the common thistle with the blue flower. There's another thistle which is a native, and it's got a yellow flower. And you can eat the leaves and everything of that as well. You know how I got into living with nature and learning everything I can about nature and what it is to live naturally. For me, it's been a quest for freedom, because from my perspective, knowing your environment, knowing what you can eat, what you can't eat, what you can use to make rope, string, shelter, etc., etc., gives you a lot more freedom in your environment. Because, like for instance, I have the skills, I could walk from here to Cairns and never miss a meal. That gives me a lot of freedom. I don't need the shops for anything. So, and I got on this path. You know, it's a question that a lot of people ask me is, what got you into this lifestyle? Well, I went to prison. I went to prison in Mexico for 2 years. That's how long it took my family to come up with the money to pay them to get me out. I was basically kidnapped and held for ransom. And inside that prison, all your freedoms are taken away. All of your freedoms. You can't even go take a piss without them knowing it. And so it's, and to make a long story short, they kept punishing us because we weren't very cooperative. I was busted with a friend of mine, and we were just uncooperative. We didn't want to be there. And our whole attitude was we want out. And so they kept punishing us and putting us in a little box made for solitary confinement. And because the prison was overcrowded, so was the solitary confinement. There'd be at least 6 other people in there with you. And there's no light. It stinks. Everybody shits and pisses in one corner of the cell. And yeah, inside there, and the conditions got so bad that my soul separated from my body and hovered over the whole situation. And my friend was in the next cell, and his spirit did the same thing. And our spirits were able to meet and actually talk about why people do this to people. What's the purpose of this? It can't be just because of this plant that grows naturally in the world. What is it? It's money. It's obviously money. That's the only reason that that they make these laws. And people's lives are worth money, and that's a big thing to come to terms with. When you realize that people's lives are worth money, and then that's all it comes down to. And anyway, at one point, basically we realized that everyone's being farmed, and that's what everywhere in the cities, everywhere in the world, people are being farmed. They're not actually free. They're living a caged existence, just from my perspective. They're not really free. They're not living like what a human being is supposed to live like on this earth. Like all the other animals, basically. Yeah, so anyway, my friend and I at one point decided that we didn't want to go back to Earth and live in that situation. We're free. We felt free. We could go anywhere. But then we started hearing a third voice come in and talk to us. And straight away we realized it was the spirit of the earth. From our perspective, it was the spirit of the earth telling us. And she explained to us what's happening in the world. Basically, she just said that we're her children, and she's letting us play with fire until enough of us learn the lesson that when we get out of harmony with nature, we create pain and suffering. When we stop walking in the spirit of love, loving our brothers and sisters, and destroying the earth for resources so that we can play, basically. Anyway, raping the earth in an unsustainable way. So we didn't want to be part of that. But anyway, the earth is telling us, go back, go back. I'm just letting the children play with fire, and I'm about to cleanse my body. Within the next 30 years, she told us, she's gonna put the northern hemisphere underwater and on fire, because that's where 90% of the world population, 80% of the world population, 90% of all major pollutants, nuclear activity, and war zones are on top of the earth. And it's a separate entity in that the winds go around the earth in opposite directions, and right in the middle, the equator, there's a 200-mile band of dead airspace. So these two entities never mix. And it's the same with the water currents. So it's a scientific fact. Every breath you take down under is 80% cleaner than anywhere you are in the northern hemisphere. The earth is a living conscious being, and she's got to heal her body. So she'll put it underwater and on fire, under pressure. That's how she neutralizes things. And that's why I'm in Australia, because it's in the southern hemisphere. So, yeah, well, that's when I was 23 years old. I'm 56 now. And that got me solidly on this path of trying to learn what it means to be totally self-sufficient, like the animals, like a wallaby, like a kangaroo, like a bandicoot. They all are totally self-sufficient. Same thing. No one has to tell them what to eat or where to sleep or any of those things. They just instinctively know. So, yeah, it's about learning what it is to be human again, a human animal on the earth. And what I've found is I've found a lot of joy in it. I find myself laughing a lot and just really, really enjoying life, jumping out of bed and being excited with every new day because there's so much joy and simplicity. I think people have just forgotten what it is to be human and how much joy there is in that. We think that we've got to go outside of ourselves. Like if we want an adventure, we got to go hire a video and watch somebody else go on an adventure instead of actually going on the adventure ourselves. So it's like people build our houses for us, make our clothes for us, grow our food for us, even take care of our children for us and teach the children morals, etc., etc. Everything that a parent is supposed to teach them. So really we're not living. People like this aren't living. It's what I call the cage existence. Real living is doing all of those things for yourself. Grow your own food. And know what you can eat out in the bush. Because the whole earth is a garden. Everywhere you step, there's food. Like, for instance, all grass species are edible. All the grass species around the world are edible. You just chew up the leaf and spit out the pulp. The seed pods you can eat as long as there's no mold on them. And that's usually the color of black. And then you would not eat them because it's really toxic. Lots of grasses grow in clumps, and you can pull a clump off the main plant, peel the leaves back like we did with the native cordyline, and again you find a heart of undifferentiated leaf that's beautiful to eat. Lots of grasses have root systems that you can eat. So yeah, everywhere you go, the earth is a garden. There's so many things out there. Everybody knows this plant. It's the one that gets all stuck in you, farmer's friend. See, here's the little things that get stuck. Oh, dang, I resurrected it. Have it up here. Yeah, those are the little things that get all stuck in our clothes and make us curse. But it's actually an edible plant, so you can eat the flower, which I reckon has most of the nutrition in it. So it's a bit bitter. It might make you go, ooh, this is not so nice tasting, but if you're in a survival situation, you wouldn't worry about that. It's definitely edible. So yeah, I actually eat the flower. And this plant grows everywhere, as most of you probably already know. But maybe you didn't know it was edible. The fact is, once you stop living out of the shops, you get healthier. Healthier and happier. And what else is there in life? What are a person's real riches? To me, it's health. Health, freedom, joy. You know, that's what it's about, being human. And those are my guiding lights. If I'm not having fun at what I do, I change direction. Because humans are supposed to live in joy, in the spirit of love. The bulrush here was the main staple for a lot of tribes in Australia, for a lot of the Aboriginal tribes. And they used to take the flower when it's mature and all brown like that. And well, it's actually not quite ready, this one. But you could actually steam that, and it's like corn on the cob, and eat it. But when it's fully mature, they just pull it apart. These aren't quite mature. But when they are, they pull it apart. It's all fluffy. And then mix that in with the starch from the root. So they pull up the root. With some difficulty. Oh man, I need my digging stick. That's funny, I'm not going to get it. I need a digging stick.
Try that one. Or are they all the same?
Maybe. Ah, I think I need a digging stick. Oh, I can feel it nice, swollen. We'll have to do it when I... Anyway. Let's see, what else do we tell them about this? Anyway, they take the white starch from the bulb of the root there, it's in the mud, and mash it with a rock, and all the glutinous starches would come out, and then they'd mix it up with the mature flour and make damper. And that's how they use this plant. And also they weave mats from the leaf. See how long the leaves are? So this is a really important plant to know. The bread is actually really beautiful to eat. But you need a digging stick. You know, your main, a lot of people ask me, what is your main survival knowledge? If you could just tell me one thing. And it's like, don't have fear. That's your main survival tool. Don't have any fear. Have trust. Have trust in creation. All the other animals out there, from the tiniest little insect to the biggest animal, they all get fed, sheltered, and clothed. All their needs are fulfilled by nature itself. And we're no different. We're not separate from that. We're part of that. So, yeah, in the web of life. I just spotted this tree fern, and you know, you can eat the fiddlehead of all ferns, but the tree fern especially is really nice. It gives you a lot of food in one you'll see in just a minute. And also you can eat the heart of all the tree ferns. That's the undifferentiated leaf matter. It's in the plant before the new leaves are born from the plant, and you can actually, you wouldn't do that unless you're in a survival situation, because you're going to kill the plant. But a lot of times in the bush you'll find clusters of tree ferns growing all together, and you can find a situation where you take one and it helps the other one grow. But we'll show you what the fiddlehead is here. Okay. See that, Mark? You see inside there too?
Yep.
So when you find a situation like this, you don't take all of the fiddleheads, because that's going to hurt the plant. This is the one you go for right here, the newest one. Isn't that beautiful? So incredible. Now that's the leaf. That's one of these leaves before it actually unfolds. And so you just bust it off right there like that, and you've got a really nice meal. Now you can steam it or roast it or even eat it raw. Well, I'm not going to eat it here on film because this one's right next to the road, and any plant that grows next to the road you don't want to eat, because all plants absorb lead from the cars that go by. So we won't eat this one, but it's a good example of what you would find in the bush.
And how would you process that again?
Well, you can actually just you just take all the furry bits off, and then you can just actually eat the whole thing raw. But I prefer to steam them. So I just put it in a pot and steam it for like 5 minutes, and it becomes really tender, and takes away any bitterness, and they're actually delicious. This fern here has got tubers that you can eat raw or cooked. Sometimes they're a little bit bitter, so you can steam them lightly, and they're just delicious. And so when you'll find big, huge patches of this in the bush. There isn't a whole lot right here, but there's plenty for us to harvest and see how we go. So you just get down and pull out a clump. You see all the, these are all the tubers. And like this here, you can actually eat it raw. You peel the skin off, which is very bitter. And eat it. all ferns, all the new leaves that are born from the plant are called fiddleheads, and all of them in all the fern family are edible. But you can't eat them every day because there's a buildup toxin in them. And all the fiddleheads, now I don't see any oh, here's one. Here's a fiddlehead. Yeah. So that's the edible part of this plant. And all ferns have what they call a fiddlehead, because you see, that looks like the top of a fiddle. That's why they call it a fiddlehead. And so you just pinch it off right there. I'm not going to do this because it's right next to the road and it's got lead in it. But yeah, ferns are everywhere in the bush, and they're all edible. You can't eat them every day because it has a buildup toxin in it. I can make this into a rope and then weave that into a basket, or I could use it for a handle on a basket, or I could actually make a pair of temporary sandals. The sandals wouldn't last very long, especially if you wore them on bitumen, but around here they could last for a few months. And so you'd start out like I am here, going thin, because that's the bit that's going to wrap around your ankle and tie and untie. So you want it pretty thin, you don't want a thick rope. But as I get half a meter long, then I'll really thicken it up if I'm making a pair of sandals. Make it like as thick as my little finger, and then probably as thick as my thumb at the thickest place, which will be the part that goes around here to make the sole. So to make a pair of sandals, I'd make this rope about a meter long. It's a wandering Jew, and I'm sure they must call it that because it's everywhere in the subtropical climates I've ever been. It's one of the most common plants on the ground from here to Cooktown. And the flower is edible, which I'm sure has a lot of nutrition in it. And all the tips. So you just come along and tip it like that. And eat that, and it's really nice. Also, like a lot of friends of mine have been just taking handfuls of it, gathering it up, putting it in a blender with a bit of water, and then straining out the pulp and drinking that liquid. And they swear by it. They reckon it's just so full of nutrition. And that's everywhere you go. But there is one wandering Jew that's, I'm pretty sure it's a hybrid, and it's different colors. It's like a maroon color, a maroon bluish color, and it's variegated, and that one's not edible. That's the only one that I know that's not edible, though. All the other ones are edible. So if it's green, it's edible. Snakes. Well, first of all, let's put it in perspective. Snakes, there's very few species that are actually toxic and dangerous to human beings. That's the first thing. And on average, one person dies from snake bite every year. And that's, say, over the last 10 years, on average, one person's died every year. And I basically think that there's two reasons why people die from snake bite, and that's overeating protein. Because a lot of these snakes, what it is, their poison is actually a real heavy concentration of protein. And if you've already eating eggs and bacon for breakfast and bologna sandwiches for lunch and a big steak for dinner, well, your system's loaded up with protein and your body just can't handle it. And the other one is fear. You get all afraid because we're conditioned to be afraid of snakes. Even harmless snakes people are afraid of, like petrified. One of the questions people ask me about this basket, I'll just have it sitting there somewhere when I'm doing my shopping or whatever, and some lady will say, "You got a snake in there?" And I used to say, "Well, there was, but he got out. He's around here somewhere." But one lady nearly had a heart attack, so I stopped doing that. They're so afraid of snakes. But anyway, there's only one aggressive snake in the world. All the other snakes they'll try to get out of your way. They'll do everything they can to get out of your way. 80% of your bites that actually happen are people that are actually trying to catch the snake or kill the snake, being aggressive toward the snake. People that are just going through the bush rarely get bit. And if they do, it's only 1 out of 10 bites that actually have venom in it, because they don't want to give up that venom. that might mean they miss their next meal, because their body has to reproduce and store that poison which they use to immobilize their prey. So they don't want to give it up. And so, but you know, the best thing to do is when you're in snake country, which is basically everywhere, you carry a big stick like that. That's my snake stick, my walking stick. It's also a good dog deterrent, like wild dogs, because you can grab it like that and whack them. But and when you walk through the bush, you hit it, because snakes can't hear. They're all deaf. They don't have ears. But they're very, very sensitive to the vibration of the earth. So when you're walking through and you go like that, it sends out vibrations in all directions, and the snakes move out of your way. There's only one snake that won't move out of your way, and that's the death adder, which actually used to be called the deaf adder. That's because, you know, before they knew that they didn't have ears and couldn't hear, they figured this one was deaf because it wouldn't move. But so when you're walking through the bush, you're always looking at patterns, and if you see a circular pattern, that's probably a snake. So either you go around it or back up and go the other way. And if you do get bit by a snake, chances are it doesn't have venom in it, but just in case, like if you get bit on the foot, you put a pressure bandage. Just take a t-shirt and rip it up and wrap it around here, not real tight, but just to slow the blood down. And wrap your whole leg and immobilize your leg, like you'd put a splint on it on both sides. You know, like a rainforest sapling or some kind of sapling, down one side and down the other side, and wrap it up, because you don't want to move. You definitely don't want to move. If you're with somebody that gets bit, you want them to just sit down, lay down, make them comfortable, relaxed, but don't move, because it's your body. If your body has enough time to deal with this poison, you'll be all right. It's when you get afraid and you start getting your heart going like that, it rushes to your heart and your body can't deal with it. The Aboriginals never died from snake bites. All the old elders tell me that you just stop for 3 days. If you got bit, you just stop. And they actually had visions. They had, you know, it was like a psychedelic journey, from what I can tell. And, you know, like the Hopi Indians in Native America, they dance with the rattlesnake and pray for rain every year. And they inject the toxins from the rattlesnake into them after they've fasted for 7 days. And then they dance themselves into a frenzy and pray for rain after they've planted corn out in the desert. And every year for 4,000 years it's rained. I think snakes are fascinating and beautiful and such an intricate part of nature. I mean, without them, rats would be out of control and so many things. So, yeah, I love snakes. Okay, here we go. Look at this. This is an acacia. It's what we call black wattle. And all the acacias are edible. You can eat the flower, the young leaf, the gum, which is what I'm going to do here right now. And just take that and put it in your mouth and suck on it like a lolly. And it's full of nutrition. So you can eat the flower, the young leaves, and the gum. And you can also eat the green seeds. And you can roast the mature seeds and smash them and make them into damper. And acacias grow all over Australia. So there's another food source. And the gum that I'm eating right now is really sweet and nice. The Aboriginals loved it so much, they used to come along in the winter and take their tomahawk and scar the tree. And then they'd come back in the spring and there'd be a big glob of this, like as big as my fist, on the tree, and they'd harvest that. So they used to cultivate it, basically, and harvest it as a main food in their diet. This is native sorrel. It has a yellow flower. Here's some budding. You can just see the little yellow bud. It's a native sorrel. If you see a sorrel that's got a blue flower, well, that was an introduced one, but they're still edible. And this plant is very common. It grows everywhere from here to Cooktown. And you just eat that clover-like leaf. It would be nice with the gum, actually. It's a bit sour. Very nice. And look at this, Mark. I knew there was mussels down there. There's mussels in all the creeks. Living naturally is a lot healthier. You know, in our society, we've been conditioned to believe that when you're 60, you're old, and you're going to get arthritis, and you're going to get this, and you're going to get that, and there's no more going bushwalking and going swimming or snow skiing or whatever. It's just all downhill from there, and I saw with my own eyes that that's not true. It doesn't have to be that way. And then, you know, that made such an intense impression on me. When I had my children, I was convinced to live naturally, to grow our food and to make our own clothes and try to live like my grandfather. And it was amazing, because my children had more endurance than anyone that I've ever met in my life. They used to jump in the sea. I raised them in Hawaii, and they used to jump in the sea and swim so far out you couldn't see them anymore, all three of them. And they'd be out there for hours. And then they'd come back and they'd start telling me every day, like it was a new event, about how the dolphins would surround them. And because the adults hunt at night, they have to sleep and rest. So they sleep and rest while their children play with my children. My son used to climb coconut trees in a grove, like maybe 12 coconut trees in one very close together. And he used to climb one, get the nuts out, and jump from one crown to the next. I've never seen anybody with the endurance that they had. And they never got sick. They never got one cavity. I never took them to a doctor. So, yeah. So I've been able to see the whole cycle through the generations. And obviously it's made an intense impression on me. And so, you know, I just think that just got to realize that that's not natural. You know, like in all primitive societies, they didn't have cavities, they didn't have cancer, they didn't have all these bloody diseases that we have today. So what does it tell you? You know, and where are your riches? You know, are they really in a brand new car that breaks down and goes, you know, it's useless after a while? Or are they in the sunsets and the beautiful flowers and each other, friends? Those were your riches. That's where my riches are. That's it. Well, look at this, Mark. Wild ginger, and it's got a bit of fruit on it. Looks like the birds beat us to most of it. But yeah, there's still a little bit here. Have a try. And it's beautiful. I reckon it's full of vitamin C. A bit sour, full of seeds. Pretty nice, huh?
Yeah.
A bit of a ginger flavor. This is a really good plant to know. It's everywhere on the margins of the rainforest. Maybe not totally in dry scrub, but maybe. It's almost everywhere I go. And it's a great source of water. And also, you know, you can get the roots too as well and flavor a soup or make medicine out of it. Ginger is a really good medicine. And but like if you're walking through the bush and you need some water, you just break one of these. You just break it off down at the stem there. I'm not going to do it because I don't really need the water at the moment. And then just chew the stem up. There's heaps of water in the stem. Chew it up and spit the pulp out. It's beautiful. You know, like I was actually there living with my grandparents when my uncle came. My uncle saved up money during the war. He built airplanes and for the United States Air Force, and saved all his money. And then when the war was over, and he came up because they raised the taxes on my grandfather, and he wasn't able to pay the taxes with 30 acres of wheat anymore. So my uncle came up and basically took over the farm. He bought him a tractor so we could put in more wheat, twice as much wheat. And And he bought it, well, he built him a house, because we just lived in a one-room house made out of logs, log cabin. And my uncle tore it down and built this huge, well, two-story house. And bought my grandmother a wash machine, and we got electricity, and got a tractor. My grandfather couldn't stand the smell or the sound of it, and he farmed with horses. And he loved his horses. You know, they were very real good friends of his. And we all did. I mean, it was a lot of fun. But then the tractor, the smell of it, that was the worst. And then the sound. And anyway, yeah, it was a two-story house. And my grandmother, the first time she tried going down the stairs, she fell and died. And that's when I had to go back and live with my parents. And then it was after that, when I went off to uni, I was on a gymnastics scholarship in Southern California. And I came home on holiday one time, and my grandfather was there, and that was after my grandmother died. And he was 98 at that time, and he was teasing me because I was growing my hair out long. And he was calling me a girl and everything, so I thought, oh, I'll just throw him down gently and pin him. But instead, he pinned me. We physically wrestled, and it got more and more intense to the point where I realized that he was stronger than me. And he actually put my shoulders to the ground with his knees on my shoulders here, and then we just both cracked up laughing. But you know, my father wouldn't have been able to do that at 60. You know, that's the difference. Either naturalized, it's been here for hundreds of years, or it is a native, I'm not sure which. But it produces a fruit, and you can't eat it. It's very, very common. I use the vine for weaving, which I'll collect some of this for weaving. But the flower is delicious, and it grows everywhere. And I'm just sure it's full of nutrition. It's absolutely delicious. I'm going to harvest some of this for weaving. Those are the fruits, and I'll just crack one open. They never get ripe. There's never nothing in them. Some people call it stinking passion fruit. Okay, so then I just strip all these off. And I've got a nice weaver or basket. Well, one thing I haven't talked about is clothing. Like this shirt is made from a deer hide, a feral deer, from some part of Australia. I think it's Tasmania or somewhere. But I taught somebody how to tan in exchange for this hide, and tanned it and made it into a shirt. And well, leather, as far as clothing goes, from my perspective, it's the best because it holds the body heat in, it blocks the wind, it's incredibly durable, especially naturally tanned leather. It lasts for lifetimes. It doesn't have a lifetime like chemically tanned leather, which, you know, after 10 or 20 years you can just rip that stuff apart. Well, you can't do that with this kind of leather. It's going to last for hundreds of years. And so yeah, maybe in the next doco that we do in this series, we'll show you how to tan and make your own clothing, because that's a real big part of being self-sufficient, isn't it? Is being able to provide your own clothing. And we're definitely not going to grow enough cotton and spin it into material and weave it into clothing. So. And this, like in Native America, they only make one set of clothes that lasts their lifetime. When you become a man or a woman in Native America, you made a set of buckskins, and those lasted you your life. That was your only set of clothing. When they got dirty, you'd wash them and wring them out and hang them by the fire, put them back on in the morning. So, yeah, that's a really important thing. Now, I just want to finish up with saying there's over 1,000 species. of palm trees, and all of them have a heart that you can eat. And of course you wouldn't take it unless it's in a survival situation. And when you do, you always look for clumps so that you can take one and it helps the others grow. And all the hearts of the grass tree are edible, and they're delicious as well. And it's the same situation. You don't take them unless you're in a survival situation. Or they're growing real close together and you can take one and it helps the others grow. And then all the hearts of the tree ferns. Okay, and then all the fiddleheads of all the tree ferns are edible. All the grass species are edible. All the hibiscus family is edible, unless it's a hybrid. That's important to know. Because if it has multiple layers of petals, that means it's a hybrid and it's probably toxic. So just that red one that's real common, most people know it. It's that big red, beautiful red hibiscus flower. That's very common. And when you're in the bush, there's heaps, I don't know how many species, but there's a lot of species of hibiscus that grows in the bush, and sometimes they're only this tall. But you'll see them from a long ways away because they have a bright yellow or orange flower. And the whole plant is edible, the bark, the roots, the flower, everything. Very high in silica. All the lizards in Australia are edible. And if you're a person that doesn't want to kill an animal, well, you can. All the geckos and skinks lose their tail when you grab them, and then they grow another one. So those people can just eat the tail and get their fats and proteins that way without killing anything. Let's see, what else? What else is edible that's across the board? Oh yeah, insects. Insects are, like if you're in the bush in a survival situation, insects are the best place to go because they're the easiest to catch for fats and proteins anyway. And, you know, so all the cicadas are edible, all the termites are edible, all the stick insects are edible, all the marsh flies were eaten on a, you know, the Aboriginals ate the marsh flies consistently whenever they were out. And they reckon they taste sweet, but I haven't actually tried one. But, okay, so it's important to remember that. It's all the freshwater fish are edible, except for possibly the bull rout, which lays in the mud and in the streams and the backwaters and stuff and has a spine in his back, and you definitely don't want to step on him. So when you're entering a stream or creek and you're not just like diving into a pond or something, you've got to walk into it. You take a stick and move it around in front of you to get that bull rout out of your way. But he's the only one that's maybe not edible, I'm not sure. And then there's mussels in all the creeks and rivers, and they're all edible and easy to get, high in fats and protein. Let's see, and I hope you're all looking forward to the next series, which will be on maybe clothing, shelter, fire. I'm not sure, but maybe more bush tucker as well. But yeah. Woohoo! Earth is our mother. Step we